we have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. First of all, it looks like we have a new Surgeon General, or they picked a new Surgeon General. They're not actually officially in there yet, but you're not going to be surprised to learn that the Trump RFK pick is absolutely psycho.
Yeah. So this is so messy, even within MAGA. It's so messy. So he had previously picked another doctor, and she also, had some wacky views, and is the sister-in-law of Mike Waltz as well.
Oh my God. That whole family's been blacklisted now, right?
Apparently. So Laura Loomer and others were very upset about that pick because she had been insufficiently anti-vax during COVID.
Oh my God.
So Loomer starts going on a warpath against her. So she gets pulled. And the cover story from Trump was that I think on her LinkedIn, she had put the wrong medical school or something like that. So they're like, she lied about her credentials. She gets pulled. Okay. So next, he announces Casey Means. Casey Means and
Callie Means or
Casey Means.
Oh, Casey is the sister. Okay.
Casey Means is the sister. Callie Means is the brother. And they are, I think the best way to describe them is like health influencers, right? They're going on Tucker.
Oh my God.
They're going on with Rogan.
Oh, Jesus.
They're, playing footsie at the very least with the anti-vax people. They're very into, they're on the RFK Jr. Maha brand. And he is very personally close with both of them. So to give you a flavor of, and there's all kinds of questions about her. First of all, she went to Stanford Medical School, but she dropped out of her residency before completing it. She actually doesn't have a current medical license.
Oh my God.
And she's being put up for Surgeon General of the United States. So questions there. In any case, to get just like a flavor of her, she and her brother were both jointly on Rogan's podcast. Callie Means has come out and said that their whole purpose of being there was trying to get undecided Maha voters to vote for Trump, to vote for Trump. In any case, let's take a listen to a little bit of what she had to say to Joe Rogan.
It's like with vaccines, it's like, yeah, I bet that one vaccine probably isn't causing autism. But what about the 20 that they're getting before 18 months? Like, we don't look at it in synergistic, and so that's a big problem. And this is where the cult of the science, and I say the science specifically because science is beautiful. Using the scientific method and using that way of inquiry into the natural world is a beautiful art. But weaponizing papers that are often bought for or corrupted, and the leaders of some of our key medical journals have actually even said that 50% of scientific research that published ends up being wrong. So it's bought for, corrupted, or wrong. We rely on this. And one interesting trend that we're seeing in our world is that if we do choose to put dots together or use our intuition, our God-given intuition, anything other than this particular way of examining things, you are dangerous. You are dangerous. And I think that that's something we need to really question. I think, especially as a woman, and I'm thinking about having kids soon, I'm thinking about wow, I have the ability in my body to build a human, 3D print a human, pull in a soul to that human. I don't need a peer-reviewed study or a textbook to tell me how to do that. Our body and our intuition and our minds and the subtle things happening inside us are important. They are incredible. We have now been told that you can't trust it and you are dangerous if you do that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think parents are very frustrated right now, is because parenting, I'm not a parent yet, but Callie is, but when we're being told now that parents are the enemy for using their own judgment about their families and kids, I think that's probably, it's deeply frustrating to people.
That last part where she's talking about parents being the enemy, blah, blah. I couldn't help but think about those parents whose child died of measles and stood by and said that it was worth it and she's in a better place now and they would do it all over again. So in any case, that's a flavor of her. The way she talks is very woo-woo, spiritual.
Yeah, it's new age shit.
It's very new age. And that part of it, and this is said with total and complete love, it's very the way Marianne talks and some of the and Marianne would dispute she's new age, but some of that spiritual aspect, there's a way that used to exist with the LA anti-vaxxers, et cetera. And she kind of talks like that. But then, so I thought, I'm hearing her on the talking points. She says the same things about, oh, it's all the big pharma is all corrupt, et cetera. I mean, there are good points there. She also runs her own healthcare company, and her brother does as well.
Bro.
So it's like she points out the corruption of that profit motive, but then, when you apply that analysis to herself and how every health ailment seems to come back to her particular, something that aligns with her business incentives, somehow that's off the table. In any case, when I saw her pick, based on my very surface level knowledge of this world, I thought, oh, the Maha people are going to be ecstatic. They're MAGA, Maha, they're going to love this lady.
Before you get to Nicole Shanahan, who's like really, really against this, let me just say a few things. First of all, we are so cooked as a society that I can't even wrap my mind around it. We're so done. I mean, this is absurd. This is like getting somebody who doesn't know anything and saying, you're going to be our Surgeon General. Like that. Okay. What people need to understand is the really boring person with no charisma and 3 degrees, they're the ones who know about this shit. The ones who were doing, like, research science for a decade, they're the ones who know what they're talking about. Now, they're not going to be good in front of the camera. They might even rub you the wrong way. They might even smell inauthentic. They might dress weird. They might look kind of schlubby. But they're the ones who know what the fuck they're talking about. These are snake oil salesmen. Even the name Callie Means and Casey Means, when you first said that, I was like, huh? Like, say that again? It sounds like you're like Madonna or something. It sounds like an AI-generated fake name. And this is who we're going with. She says at one point in there, synergistically, multiple vaccines may give you autism. We have failed as a society when we're at the point where it's not in unison that everybody stands up and says, that's a disqualifying statement. We know all the bullshit about vaccines cause autism. Literally none of it is real. It is all fake. It is all bullshit. It comes from a 1990 study from a doctor named Andrew Wakefield. The study had to be pulled, and also that guy lost his fucking medical license because the study was so shoddy and such bullshit, right? Now, the crazy thing is they'll use that as further evidence that they're right, that the study's been discredited, because they'll go, see, bro, the big conspiracy against us, and that's why they pulled the study. And it's like, no, you don't get it. The real cranks are yourselves. Look in the mirror. All these people, like you said, they have supplement companies. They have all these different things. They are the real cranks. They are the real price gougers. They're the ones who care most about profit, which is why RFK he regularly takes this blue dye, which is used for, like, cleaning fucking fish tanks, because it's the new fad thing on the right about, oh, bro, this will fix your mitochondria and everything will be great. I mean, what we're talking about here is absolutely ridiculous. At one point, she said, quote, I don't need a peer-reviewed study. I have my intuition. Well, you dumb bitch, our intuition tells us the world is flat, too. Is the world flat? Maybe. Maybe she'd say, you know what, I kind of went down that rabbit hole, too, on YouTube and agree with that.
Here's the thing is every, like, crank conspiracy has now sort of, like, consolidated in the right. And so when you have this, like, swirl of various conspiracy-brained people who never quote-unquote trust the experts on anything, then at some points their various conspiracies and paranoid way of thinking are going to clash with one another, which is what, like, leads me to the next piece. Because when I saw her pick, again, I knew a little bit about her brother. I didn't actually know anything about her. But, I started to read about her and watch her, on Rogan and what she's saying. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to eat this lady up. They're going to love this lady. And then it turns out that is not at all, from some corners, that is not at all the case. So 2 people in particular have come out swinging hard at her. One is Laura Loomer. The other is RFK Jr.'s vice presidential pick, Nicole Shanahan. Let's put this up on the screen because there is so much to dig into here. So Nicole Shanahan says of Casey Means getting picked, quote, yes, it's very strange. Does not make any sense. I was promised that if I supported RFK Jr. in his Senate confirmation, that neither of these siblings would be working under HHS or in an appointment, and that people much more qualified would be. I don't know if RFK very clearly lied to me or what is going on. It has been clear in recent conversations that he is reporting to someone regularly who is controlling his decisions, and it isn't President Trump. With regard to the siblings, there's something very artificial and aggressive about them, almost like they were bred and raised Manchurian assets. So just leave this up on the screen for another moment just to point out a couple key points. First of all, she apparently had to be coerced into supporting RFK Jr. in his Senate confirmation hearings. That's number one. Number two, part of the deal that she struck in exchange for her support was a guarantee that neither Casey nor Callie Means would be in any way associated with this administration. So she clearly had some grudge against them, did not like them. previously, they are very close with RFK Jr. He name checks them in speeches, like they are close personal friends. Then she says maybe he was lying to me, which is, again, extraordinary given that up until this point, she's been more or less a good soldier, team player, etc. And then she, has this sort of conspiratorial, someone's controlling his decisions, Manchurian assets, et cetera, et cetera. But for her to come out so aggressively like this is really quite something.
Can I ask you, is the reason why, is it a personal thing? Is that why she hates this person? Or is it because she's not crazy enough? She's not anti-vax enough?
I don't know. So
we don't know. Nobody knows at the moment.
Okay, so here's my insight, such as it is, from, Emily and like my little connections into this world.
People adjacent to that world.
Yeah, and Emily also is not super read into this world, but from the people she was talking to, they think that Casey and Callie Means are basically like CIA. That's what they think, because they and that's where the Manchurian, but that's what she's getting at the end there when she says that it's like they were born and bred Manchurian assets or whatever she says. Because, and I read a long Substack post this morning from someone who was like deep in this world and who was super anti-vax, and they feel that whereas we listen to that comment on Rogan and we're like, oh, this lady's anti-vax, they see it as sort of like ass covering and are like, you guys weren't out there during the COVID lockdowns.
Oh
you
my
weren't.
God.
You are more focused on your own like glucose testing than on the, deaths and injuries from the mRNA vaccine. So some of it is you weren't there with us in the trenches when we were fighting these quote unquote medical freedom fights that are really central in this movement. So it is a little bit of that, like you're not out there enough. And then the other piece that they point to is you came out of nowhere. Like we had no idea who you people were. And now all of a sudden you're everywhere. You're on Tucker, you're Joe Rogan, you're like super influential. You're really close in with the Kennedys. And we wouldn't be surprised if there's some, CIA deep state assets who have embedded themselves in the Kennedy world. So that's seems to be what she's kind of alluding to there when she's talking about how they feel really artificial and like they're, born and bred Manchurian assets.
This is a real like fuck around, find out moment, like a real you made your bed, now you're going to sleep in it moment, because you guys bred all of this idiotic conspiracy theory bullshit, and now it's coming back to bite you in the ass. And can I also point out, it is absolutely psychotic that Laura Loomer seems to have veto power over this administration.
Yeah.
We get a story like once a month, or maybe even a little more than that she storms into the White House and she starts telling Trump, this one right here is, I don't know why I'm giving her the Trump accent. I was giving Laura Loomer the Trump accent. But this one right here is against you.
Aligned she is.
You have to fire this one. You have to fire that one. We can't trust this one. They're not full MAGA enough. And he's like, okay, I agree. Let's do that. It's like the whole administration is being run like a 4chan message board from 2017.
Well, and I mean, things will happen like, okay, she'll get Mike Waltz axed. I'm like, okay, good. Mike Waltz really sucks. And he is truly like an ideological neocon, whatever. And then the replacement is Marco Rubio and probably Stephen Miller. You're like, oh, okay, great. Yeah, it's not really an improvement,
But seriously, though, at the core of this movement is absolutely nothing. It is vapid. It is power for power's sake. It is worshiping the God, Emperor, Overlord Trump. Mm-hmm. Like there is nothing at the core of this movement, which is why oftentimes they'll contradict themselves like a motherfucker, like MTG coming out the other day and being like, I don't want war with Iran, and if this administration does that, then that would be going too far. Then meanwhile, all these same people were fucking cheerleading the Houthi bombings, which were killing massive numbers of civilians, and the bombing of Somalia, which Trump was bragging about, and all the warmongering with Mexico and Greenland. And it's like, what, now you're going to pretend like you're anti-war? There's nothing at the core of this.
Well, and the thing with, so Laura Loomer she's going in now on Casey Means. I mean, I checked her Twitter feed this morning. It's just one after another. She's fighting with Charlie Kirk about it. Like she's going in to try to also tank Casey Means after she arguably was also the person who got the original crank Surgeon General nominee pulled. So the way she always frames everything is that Trump is being failed by the vetting committee is not doing their job, and they're undermining Trump's movement. She says the same thing. She actually came out against the Medicaid cuts and said the same thing, that these rhinos are trying to undermine Trump and betray him on his promise not to cut Medicaid. So that's the way she positions herself. And we can put up one of her many posts about Casey Means here. So she's going after Casey and Callie Means for some book that their dad wrote that she's saying was like encouraging children to be transgender. I don't know the context of this The Adventures of Felix the Flamingo book, but apparently it's not actually about trans people, it's about gay people. Not that it matters, whatever. Anyway, she's going after Callie Means here and saying, do you and your sister condemn your father for writing this Felix the Flamingo book? And going back and forth with Callie Means.
Do you condemn Felix the Flamingo? Say it. Say it. These people are she needs to be on medicine. She really does. She needs to be on medicine. So what I would say to Laura Loomer is, did the rhinos undermine Trump when he put the tariffs on? Or better question, did the rhinos undermine Trump when he took the tariffs off? Because the idea that like, bro, you can never disagree with Trump. Trump contradicts himself on a fucking daily basis.
Yeah.
At some point, you, Laura Loomer, have to disagree with him too. This is so childish. It really is. I agree with Richard Hanania when he says it's very possible that when Trump is gone, there will actually be a religion that's built around this man. There will be some percentage of the population that turn him into a literal deity.
Yeah,
because
and that's
how they act.
And there will be various factions,
Correct.
warring factions of that religion
That's
as
right.
well. So anyway, that's as best I can tell the saga of Casey Means and where things stand. But you know, the TLDR is that the Trump administration is putting a health influencer with no medical license in. That's his pick as Surgeon General.
My God.
So that's where we are.
Hey guys, we had Lisa Gilbert from Public Citizen on the show this week. She is an expert on Trump's insane, immense corruption, specifically his crypto corruption. You don't want to miss this episode. There's a bunch of mind-boggling facts in there. Sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends below and watch the full thing.